Welcome to the Tipsy Guest Podcast. I am your host, Marco Buenrostro, and every week I'm here with the top industry experts, amazing clients, and all my vendor BFFs to bring you the best tips, advice, and juicy behind-the-scenes stories to make wedding and event planning a breeze. So grab your favorite drink and let's get this party started! Hey guys, welcome back to the Tipsy Guest. I am Marco, your host. And today is going to be a little different than most episodes. I mean, every week we've had a different type of vendor, just to kind of give you, all the ideas, all the advice, all the tips on different ways of how you can plan your wedding. But I haven't really done an episode about about my company, which is MVP Photo Booth. So today we are going to be talking all things photo booths for your wedding. And for that, I have my assistant, Brett, with me. How are you, Brett?
Doing great. What's going on, guys? I'm happy to be here.
I am so glad you're here. I mean, you are the one that goes to all the events. I'm the behind the scenes person, but you're the face of MVP Photo Booth. I mean, I think people relate the company more to you now than they related to me.
That's true.
Because they see you at every single event.
Yeah, but you're also very well known. Everybody always asks about you.
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. And you know what? I am going to tell you guys, to our listeners. So Brett has been with me for probably about 2 years now?
Yeah. Coming up on that, yep.
So about 2 years now, and honestly, I always get compliments from either the planners, compliments from the couples, from our guests. They always say how good you are with people, which is, that thing. I want to personally thank you for that.
Of course, thank you. It's great to hear.
I want to say thank you personally, but honestly, that is one thing about MVP Photo Booth. I think customer service is our main priority, and we always want to make sure that we take care of our guests.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always tell people or potential clients, and when we do open houses, when we do the wedding shows, that is one of the main things that we tell our potential clients. We bring an experience to you. We don't just rent you a machine, that's going to take photos of your guest. So what has been your experience? And you can be totally honest. Right now, I'm the Tipsy Guest host, not your boss. So you can be completely honest. Like, what are some of the things that you that you enjoy, about working weddings, about working events? And we'll go about the things that you don't enjoy the most, but let's start with the good stuff. What's one of the things that you like?
So I love creating the memories for these people. Usually the event photography is pretty standard, but you don't get those photos right away. I like just how instant you get that gratification of taking pictures with your friends and family. A lot of people don't have these photos with the people around them. Sometimes at these corporate events you don't take pictures with your coworkers, but they have these professional grade photos right on site. They can take as many as they want. Sometimes they get the printouts, and it's just instant gratification. You get these memories that you can always have. You're always going to remember that holiday party when you hang these pictures on your fridge, or just have them on your desk in your office, or like your friends and family. Sometimes you don't see your family for a really long time. Sometimes certain friends aren't even in the same room since you guys graduated high school together, graduated college, and now you guys are all back together. You get to take these big group photos, and they're just memories.
I just like that. Yeah, I like that's a great point, because sometimes we get the question of, well, I already have a photographer. Like, why should I hire a photo booth? If there's a photographer already, a lot of our budget is already going to a photographer.
Exactly, yeah.
So I always tell our couples, it's like, yeah, you have a photographer, but the photographer, it's mainly for you as a couple.
Yeah.
That they're shooting you. They're doing your portraits. They're going to be focusing on you, and you're not gonna see these photos until probably like weeks from the wedding date.
Exactly.
And when it comes to the photo booth, like you mentioned right now, it's instant. People they will walk away from the photo booth with an actual printout, And then, now technology is amazing. So they just have to put their phone number, scan a QR code or their email address in the photo. A great quality photo will come right to their inbox. Before, people used to take a picture of the printout and they would post it. Every once in a while, they still do that. But I feel like, these are memories that you are creating in the moment, and you're posting about it in the moment. I mean, everything is about social media nowadays.
Yep.
I'm sure, you have a TikTok. You have who knows if we're going to have a TikTok anymore. But, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, even LinkedIn. I've had people that they're like, you know what? This looks really good. Exactly. I'm going to take a picture for my LinkedIn.
Yep.
Then they just kick everybody out of the photo, like if they're doing a group picture, and then they just take a solo photo because they want to use that as their profile picture, almost like a headshot. So I think I think that is one of the main differences between a photo booth and a photographer. We deliver those photos right away.
Yeah.
And these are the memories that people are going to be sharing every year, because now you get those reminders on social media that, hey, you were here a year ago. Do you want to reshare it? Or do you want to create a reel with this memory? Blah, blah, blah. So that's what I normally tell my couples, that's the main difference. The photo booth is for your guest to have a great experience at your wedding, and the photographer is to create memories for you as a couple.
Yep.
Right?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So what are some recommendations that you would give our potential, clients, our listeners out there, to get the best out of their photo booth booking? I mean, normally 3 hours, I would say, is that, because sometimes people ask, like, how long should we have the photo booth? I always say 3 hours is good.
Yep.
As the person that actually works the event, do you think 3 hours is good?
I think it's great as long as you plan when it's going to take place, because sometimes people aren't always available. Like we mentioned, we talked about this before, but the dinner. A lot of people have it booked for during the dinner time, and nobody takes pictures during dinner. So usually it's good to take place after dinner. If you have the reception long enough, it makes sense to just start after. Or you could start before dinner as well, as long as it's planned properly. You don't want to burn an hour just with people sitting around eating and, I'm just at the booth waiting to take pictures. So if you want to get the most out of that 3 hour time period, I would say just make sure you start at the right time.
Yeah, I feel like I always say, I think starting right after dinner is the best time because, normally right after dinner, of course, you have the toast, or you have, like the speeches and things like that. So, I mean, those normally last for what? Like maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes max. Yeah. So that's not killing a lot of your time of the photo booth. But I would say just burning an entire hour while they're having dinner, it's too much.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think starting right after dinner, maybe right after the toast, and then maybe pushing it all the way to the end, or maybe even like 15, 20 minutes before the end of the whole wedding. I think that's the perfect time frame for a photo booth. And then here's a pro tip for our couples out there. Make sure, of course, if you hire MVP photo booth, thank you. But if you do end up going with a different photo booth company, I know a lot of photo booth companies out there that normally set up an hour before they start the service. And that can be a little bit distracting, because if they do start right after dinner, you don't want to have the photo booth company showing up and setting up as people are having dinner.
Yeah.
Unless it's really necessary, then you have to do it that way. But I would recommend you always talk to your photo booth company and coordinate the setup time. Like with us, for example, with MVP, we always set up early in the day.
Yep.
And then we go back at the time that we get started. The reason why we do that, it's because we don't want to be distracting, during dinner, during the toast. Imagine us setting up as people are doing the toast, like that's just not I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's always good to make sure that you coordinate all your vendors to set up earlier in the day. And then another thing is, you don't want to us as a company, let's say, for example, we talk to the bride and we're like, hey, we're setting up right before dinner. And let's say she agrees. She knows that, but all the guests don't know that. So to me, that feels like the guests are going to think that we're arriving late.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, look at this company. They're showing up while we're having dinner. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then that that is gonna look bad on our end.
Yeah.
So I think definitely setting up early in the day is great recommendation for not just a photo booth vendor, but vendors in general.
Yeah, and it also helps because we're dealing with technology. Things happen all the time. Random things could go wrong. We could forget a cord. It happens every now and then. You just want to be able to troubleshoot these things, and we have time to do that and make whatever is going wrong right before we have to start taking these pictures. Especially, we take like sometimes 200, 250 pictures for a wedding. So, you want to make the most out of that. You don't want any technical difficulties. We want to make sure everything's running smooth before we start this process.
Yeah, I mean, technology, everybody knows technology. Stuff happens. And yeah, so we want to make sure that we test everything earlier in the day, just so that when we go back to the actual event, we know everything is good to go.
Exactly.
And then, of course, things still happen, but at least we already have everything in place for us to get started.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the placement of the photo booth? Like, what do you think works, and what do you think is like not such a good idea to set up the photo booth at a certain spot throughout? I mean, you've been to so many venues.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a bad idea to set it up right next to the food. Usually there's a line next to the buffet or something, and that can just kind of ruin the flow of how our line is going. It can get just really jumbled. I don't really like setting up right next to food. I don't like being right next to a really loud speaker. So if the DJ has just booming music and the speaker's like right next to the booth, it gets, I can't even hear the person when they're asking me questions.
Yeah.
So it gets a little distracting, and it's just hard to tune into what the customer needs when you can't even hear what they're saying.
Yeah, I guess depending, because sometimes they're very limited with space depending on the venue. Mm-hmm. I've always said it, set up the photo booth where the action is happening.
Yeah.
So, for example, if the wedding is completely an indoor wedding, don't put the photo booth outside.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it happen to where like everything is happening inside, and then we're outside, and there's no action in the photo booth. People might come out once, maybe twice, but that's it.
Yeah. And even when the DJ, sometimes we have them make an announcement that the booth is open. I've had people like open the door on accident and be like, "Oh, you're a photo booth? I didn't know you were out here." So they didn't even tune in to what the DJ was saying, and they didn't realize the photo booth was available. And sometimes I'm just outside for an hour and a half, and
just
nobody's taking photos yet.
Yeah, I always say that. Either put us, I would say definitely inside. I think somewhat on the way to the bathroom, it's a great placement for the photo booth.
Yeah.
Because people are going to go to the restroom many times throughout the party, throughout the wedding.
That's true.
So I think it's definitely, like, for example, the candle point, we normally set up right in the corner as you're going into the bathroom. So I think that is a great placement for us. I also think maybe, like, let's say, for example, if there's a stage where the DJ is, you're still somewhat close to the DJ, but not really close, like you said earlier, with the speaker right on top of you.
Yeah.
Because at one point, everybody's looking at the DJ. Like as you're dancing, the DJ is like the focal point of the wedding, because they're the entertainment. So I think if you put the photo booth somewhere like in the same direction of where the DJ is, everybody's gonna be looking that way. Plus, of course, we have bright lights, so they will know we're there. But I definitely think having the photo booth inside, if the wedding is inside, it's a great way to do it.
100%.
I feel like, sometimes you're taking a photo of the couple, and somebody's on the dance floor and they see the couple in the photo booth. Everybody runs to the photo booth because it turns into a meet and greet.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if we were outside, then people were not going to see that, that the couple is taking photos in the photo booth, because obviously we're outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is probably, I would say, my biggest recommendation. The photo booth placement, I think it's always gonna be my biggest recommendation for couples to to talk to the planner, to talk to the venue, and figure out where. And a lot of the venues now, they have like a specific area for the photo booth. And I would say to our couples that are listening, it's okay to move things around.
100%.
If the venue is telling you this is where the photo booth normally goes, if you want it somewhere else in the venue, I mean, it's your wedding, it's your big day, you're the one that's really gonna have the power to make that decision. So sometimes I do tell couples, I'm like, hey, the venue's going to try to convince you to put the photo booth here. Make sure you say no.
Yeah.
Because they have a specific way of doing things, but we're the ones that know what works and what doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Based on years and years and years of experience doing weddings. So yeah, definitely placement. Everybody listening out there, make sure that you if we don't talk to you about it, you bring that up to us, and we will obviously recommend the best spot in the venue for the photo booth. I mean, we've worked at almost every venue in town and the surrounding areas, Austin, San Antonio, the Hill Country. So we will definitely give you a great, great advice on where to put it. What about, people are, if it's hot or if it's cold or whatever, people are wearing jackets, people are, girls have their purses, or, somebody's always going to be holding a drink. So another recommendation that I think always works, and I always tell you guys, when you show up to events, I'm like, make sure that if nobody put a cocktail table close to the photo booth, let's pull one close to the photo booth, because people always have a drink. And sometimes they don't want to take a photo with the drinks instead of putting it on the floor or
on our
please to you guys listening out there, do not put your drink on our printer. They automatically think the printer is like a little table, and they automatically start pointing the drink towards the printer, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
Especially with our wooden one, I'm like, please do not.
So yes, I mean, it is really expensive equipment. I mean, if a drink gets spilled onto the printer, that's the end of the printouts for the night, and that might be the end of my printer. So I always try to make arrangements with, prior to the wedding, to where we tell the planner, or we tell the venue, or we tell the couple to make arrangements with the venue to set a cocktail table right by the photo booth. Most of the time now, we got rid of props years ago when COVID started. I mean, that was our chance to get rid of props. I feel like props are a thing of the past. I think at least the style of photo booth that we offer, it's a more minimalist, a clean photo. Like, we want to make sure that people like the photo, that they can potentially frame it and have it at their desk or on their nightstand or somewhere around the house where they're gonna be like, oh, I love this photo. We took it at so-and-so's wedding. So I think the use of props, which is another recommendation, I think get away from props. Don't do props. I mean, unless you really want something, that's meaningful to you. Like, for example, we had a wedding where the couple, they loved Whataburger and they loved Buc-ee's. So they're like, Marco, can you bring something like Buc-ee's related or like Whataburger related? That's a little different because it's meaningful to them.
It's not generic props. It's
not like the cheap stuff. Like, feather boas. Those are horrible because not only do they look ugly, but they make a mess. So venues hate it when we use feather boas. Either feather boas or anything like glittery or like confetti and stuff. Like, I know the confetti is like so fun for like the 360 photo booth. But it can get really messy. So a lot of the venues don't allow things like that. So I think also, whenever couples ask about props, if we offer props, so yes, we have it as an option, but we don't bring the props unless they specifically request it.
And also, like, usually, especially with corporate events, the overlay is so customizable already. You can get everything that you're going to get out of props in the overlay. It's going to be like you said, you want to be able to frame these photos, and if it's already decorated on the borders, there's not really a reason to bring those props. And sometimes
if you give them too many options of props, then it drags the line forever because they can't decide what prop to use. And then they take forever, and then they end up either grabbing too many props or not grabbing anything at all. So I think if we can avoid props, I think that is the best way to go.
I agree.
At least that's my opinion. Which brings my next recommendation. Right now that you mentioned the overlay, for weddings, sometimes, or I would say most of the time, we ask our couples to send us a copy of their invitation or their menu designs or the save the date or any of their welcome signs, so that we can try to match that design to make sure that it is a cohesive, you want to make sure that the photos look like the rest of your stuff, the rest of the vibe of the wedding.
I want to say the greatest example I think we have of that is that quince that you sent me to at the Redberry recently, where it was Willy Wonka themed.
Yes.
That backdrop was amazing. I love the whole setup. I love the way we had the front and the back screens. It just all fit the vibe of the entire party.
Yep. And that's one of the things that you know, when people ask me, like, you know, what sets you apart from other photo booths? I think that is one of my main selling points, which is, you know what? Every wedding is different. You know, we will customize everything to match the design that you have going on. Again, you know, you can send us your invitation, you can send us your save the date, whatever design you already have going on, just send it to us, and then our graphic designer can try to match the vibe.
Yeah.
Because we want to be part of, you know, we don't want to just be like an extra. I've seen photo booth companies that they just like literally like, it's like they design something in like old school, like a Word document.
Yeah.
And it's just like the name and the date. Yeah, I mean, of course, the name and the date is very important, but you also want to incorporate the rest of the design that they already have with. Perfect example, like you said right now, this was a Willy Wonka event. You know, so we incorporated the backdrop that looked exactly like the invitation or like the dance floor at that particular event. Like everything was very, you know, like everything belonged to that specific wedding. So yeah, design is a big part of our services, where we want to make sure that your photo booth, either photo strips or 4x6 printouts, that they look good, and that, you know, that people are going to remember, like, oh my God, look, this looks just like the invitation.
Yeah.
Or, oh my gosh, this looks like the monogram on the screen up there, or like the dance floor, or you know, or like the napkins, you know, things like that. So we always customize every single wedding to match the vibe of the rest of the party. So yeah. So that's what we do. We like those little things, you know, that make it extra special. What else? What else do you think it would be a good recommendation for our couples out there listening, that you're like, you know what, this, or sometimes they have an idea and they think it might work, but sometimes it doesn't. Like what else do you think could be a good advice for our listeners?
Well, I don't know about something that works, but it doesn't. But I do just want to touch on the fact that we need to get the people that are the center of attention in that booth. 100%. Usually, I don't know if you remember, we had a wedding where I took pictures of the entire party, and then it was time for me to pack up, and they started doing speeches when it was time for me to pack up. So I had fully taken down, and then the couple comes up to me and are like, hey, we didn't get pictures in the booth. And I was like, oh, I mean, I'm sorry, the time is over, and I would accommodate if I didn't already pack up everything. But, you know, obviously need to talk to Marco, and we were able to work it out and get them in the booth, and they extended. So, you know, we got more pictures at the party, and they were happy at the end of the day. But that happens a lot. Sometimes people don't come until the very last 15 minutes. And then everybody in the party, like we said earlier, wants to come and take pictures with the people of the hour, basically. So.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. I think, and we're very accommodating, you know, like depending on, you know, like we can definitely say, yeah, we'll take another one. But at one point we have to stop.
Exactly.
You know, because like you said, you know, if you say yes to someone, then you got to say yes to the next person and the next person and the next person. And then that becomes just like an extra 30, 45 minutes that we're there.
Yep.
And this is something that I always talk to my couples, you know, prior to the wedding. You know, if they hire me for 3 hours, I always tell them, I'm like, hey, you know, we're going to be there for 3 hours. And if you do want to extend, you know, you can just let our photo booth attendant know, and we'll extend. And then, of course, you know, I'll send you an invoice for it later. You know, I don't like to do like transactions on site to where like you're going to ask for payment right there and then. No, you know, they're having fun, you know, but I do have that conversation before the actual event, where I tell them, if you want us to extend, just let us know. We'll extend until you want us to extend. And then, you know, we'll just send you an invoice and we'll worry about it later. But yes, we always get that to where like people are, of course, you know, they're having fun, they're having dinner, they're dancing, they're, you know, doing all these different things. And then they don't ever come to the photo booth until the last 5 minutes. And it's like, but we were here for 3 hours. Like, come on, like, you know, you saw us here. So yes, recommendation is always go to the photo booth early on, and then just keep coming back. You know, like, we're there for 3 hours, and we're not going to limit you on the amount of photos that you take.
Exactly.
It's unlimited photos throughout the night, so you can come back as many times as you want. And then, and we'll take your photo.
Yeah.
Just don't wait until the last 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Please.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, Brett. So we are running out of time, but thank you so much, for finally making it out to an episode. I mean, like I said earlier, we've had so many different vendors, but we really haven't had an episode about us, about the photo booth. So thank you so much. And then to our listeners out there, make sure that you follow us on social media, MVP Photo Booth. We are on everywhere, every social media platform. Just go look for us. We're very active. We're always posting stories from the weddings that we're at. We're always sharing the content, so that way you get to see what type of photo booths we offer. Just make sure you visit our website. And of course, if you have any questions, you can send us a DM, or you can also send an inquiry form from the website directly. My phone number on the website and Instagram, it's my cell phone. So text me. I'm always very responsive. And, any questions that you might have, we will be happy to help you. Thank you, Brett.
Of course, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, cheers. Thanks for listening to the Tipsy Guest Podcast. If you know someone who could benefit from these tips, spread the love and share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Next round's on us. Same time, same place. Cheers. This podcast is brought to you by MVP Photo Booth, the #1 photo booth rental company in San Antonio, Austin, and Central Texas.